Top 10 facts about adoption tax benefits. There are benefits to adopting. If you adopted or tried to adopt a child last year, you may qualify for a tax credit. If your employer helped pay for the costs of an adoption, you may be able to exclude some of your income from tax. We're going to talk about 10 things that you should know about adoption tax benefits. First is a credit or exclusion. Credit is non-refundable. This means that the credit may reduce your tax to zero. If the credit is more than your tax, you can't get any additional income back as a refund. So it'll only go to zero. Now, if your employer helped pay for the adoption through a written qualified adoption assistance program, you may qualify to exclude that amount from tax. There is a credit carryover. If your credit is more than your tax, you can carry any unused credit forward. This means that if you have an unused credit in 2014, you can use it to reduce your taxes for 2015. You can do this for up to 5 years or until you fully use the credit, whichever one comes first. Now, you have to have an eligible child who's under the age of 18. This rule does not apply to persons who are physically or mentally unable to care for themselves. They can be older. Qualified expenses are adoption expenses that must be directly related to the adoption of the child and be reasonable and necessary. The types of expenses that can qualify include adoption fees, court costs, attorney fees, and even travel. Now, for a domestic adoption, that's adopting a U.S. child, qualified adoption expenses paid before the year the adoption becomes final are allowable as a credit for the tax year following the year of payment, even if the adoption is never finalized. A foreign adoption, that's adopting a child who's a foreigner, not yet a citizen of the U.S. Qualified adoption expenses paid before and during the year are allowable as a credit for the year when it becomes final. Now, if you adopt a special needs child, and you can find a lot of times that in Florida especially, special needs are most children. If you adopted an eligible U.S. child with special needs, adoption is final, a special rule applies. You may be able to take the credit even if you didn't pay any qualified adoption expenses. So a lot of times if you're adopting a child, you want to make sure that the state qualifies that child as special needs. Now, if they're qualified as special needs, that designation is accepted by the IRS. No double benefit. Depending on the adoption's cost, you may be able to claim both the tax credit and the exclusion. However, you can't claim both credit and an exclusion for the same expenses. This rule prevents you from claiming both tax benefits for the same expense. Uncle Sam doesn't want you to take a double dip. Income limits. The credit and exclusion are subject to income limitations. The limits may reduce or eliminate the amount you can claim depending on the amount of your income. If you have any questions, contact us at smartplanjupiter.com or 561-744-9547.